guys? We are here at race number 5 on the season at Imola. We've got a great group of cars on the track. Some guys showing some great speed in practice and qualifying. You see right away Mike Doherty qualified on pole position. We haven't seen Mike on pole in a little while, so good to see him showing that type of speed. He's had a pretty good season in the Nissan GTR as his first season in this car, and so far he's had quite a lot of success in that car. Right alongside him is Kyle Tillman. Behind him is John Snow, then Mike Wojcik, Casey Bennett, Mike Bowen, Aiden Hasbrock, Pedro Perez, Jesse Albert, Ken North, D. Hicks, Eric Alvarez, Evan Miller, Stefan Buckley, Kyle Macedo, Maxwell Cerna, Joe Marsiglia, Scott Taylor, Nick Driveman, and I think it's Brett Spigner, I think. Don't hold me to that, though. I can't remember for sure, but Spigner is there with us as well. So we're past the halfway point in the season. This is the 5th race of the season, so this is the start of the second half of the season. This is kind of the calm before the storm. Next week is the storm because we have our night race. Every season we have a night race. It's usually on the 6th or 7th race of the season. This season our night race takes place at Laguna Seca. So next week that's where we'll be, and that's what we'll be doing. We'll be racing in the dark at Laguna. So we're going to see what these guys can do to put themselves in position to prepare for that race. This race is Imola is a very fast track. It's a very technical track. There's a lot of areas where you can lose a ton of time if you don't, have good corner entry to set up a good corner exit. Corner exit is extremely important on these really fast tracks like this. And we'll see some guys really pushing the limits of the track. A lot of tracks have where you, in ACC, there's a lot of corner cutting that goes on, learning where the boundaries are, how much of the curb you can cut. And this track is no different. It has the same thing. You have to cut certain corners to keep pace with the fastest guys. You have to cut it just right, because if you overcut it, you will get yourself a penalty. But if you undercut it, you'll lose time, and the guy in front of you or behind you will gain time on you because he did it right. So, pretty tricky course. Let's see here. So tonight we're running 34 laps. 34 laps around Imola. Should be a pretty good test of patience for these guys. It's a track that takes a lot of consistency, and it's tough to be consistent when you're neck and neck with people, side by side racing, and so on. So you can see back there in 5th place, Casey Bennett finally has a custom livery. I don't know what the issue was, but I had to delete all of the liveries from my files and start fresh, and when I did that, suddenly Casey's livery showed up. So I want to apologize to Casey for not having his livery for the last couple weeks, but we finally got it, so he's looking good. We'll take a look at it real quick here. He's in the Red Bull BMW. And there's the Red Bull paint job. You can see it a little bit there. We'll see it more as the race goes on, but so these guys are all formed up, coming around, getting ready for the start of the race. You see the pack looks pretty good all the way to the back. Just waiting for that green flag. It's kind of a long run up. You know, some tracks the start sneaks up on you, but at this particular track, you kind of get formed up and then you just mosey along until you hit the starting line. And there's the green flag. Right off the bat, you see Stephon Buckley got a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, looks like. Side by side coming along here. Everybody's too wide coming into turn one. You see Kyle Tillman holding pace with Mike Doherty, trying to make it work around the outside of that high-speed turn. Mike gets a little bit of a slow exit there. Oh, and he gets hit by, looked like Wojcik got a piece of him, and he, oh no. Let's take a look back. We're going to look at this from Jon Snow's perspective. John coming around. Now we're not going to be able to see anything from there. Doherty got hit in the back, and then he hit Kyle Tillman in the back, and then Tillman got into Jon Snow, and then John ended up in the middle of the road. So an unfortunate start for all of those guys. Let's see if we can go back and find somebody who survived all of that. So you see Tillman and Doherty get a little bit of a slow exit, and Jon Snow and Wojcik were all over him. Nowhere to go. Snow tried to go around the inside, but nowhere to go there, and they just ended up coming together. So that's going to put Wojcik in the lead with Bowen in second and Casey Bennett in third. Right behind that is Jesse Albert, Pedro Perez, and D. Hicks, I believe. Yeah, D. Hicks is behind him, and then looks like that was Eric Alvarez behind D. Hicks. So that's the current running order. It's got everybody kind of spread out a little bit because of that ugly start. You see Wojcik trying to keep pace over Bowen. Wojcik, you see how much these guys are cutting that corner. Oh, and Casey Bennett loses it after the corner cut, hit too much of the curb or hit it wrong or something and lost the rear end of the car. That's going to cost him a ton of positions. He's trying to rejoin the track without causing an accident. So it's Wojcik and Bowen, and that's Jesse Albert back behind them. So these two guys kind of have a gap on everybody else right now. We got a lot of close battles going on all over the track. Take a look at Jesse. That's the lead he has over Pedro Perez. You see Hicks all over the back of Pedro, looking to the inside. Gonna overshoot the turn, trying to make an aggressive move, and overshoots the turn. He's gonna actually lose another position because of that to Ken North. Right behind Hicks here is Kyle Macedo. Kyle hasn't been with us every race this season. We've missed having the Macedos with us on a week-to-week basis, but when they have been here, they've been competitive, so we'll see what they're able to do. You see Eric Alvarez right behind these guys, and then that's Kyle Tillman, who was in that original lap one accident. He is back here in ninth place right now, trying to recover from that. Let's take a look back at the front. You got Wojcik. He's got Bowen all over him. This is where Casey Bennett lost. You see how much of the curve these guys are hitting, really unsettling the car as they come through there. Bowen all over Wojcik, trying to look around the outside to see if he can set up the inside on the next turn, but not quite able to get alongside. Wojcik trying to just get a little bit of breathing room if he can. But we know Mike Bowen is really fast at every track we race at. He's not going to give it up easy, that's for sure. So that's your leaders. They got a pretty good gap that they've pulled. They're currently 2.9 seconds in front of Jesse Albert, so pretty good gap between these two in third place. Jesse's continuing his really solid season he's had so far. Been able to really put together some nice races so far. He hasn't won a race, but he's been up in the top in most of our races this season, so he's really high up in the points right now. Alright, let's take a look back through the field. So we got some shuffling going on back here. We got Pedro Perez, who's fallen back behind K. Tillman, and he's okay. Now he's back in front of K. Tillman. Oh, you see Kyle Macedo off the track there. I don't know if he just missed his braking point or what happened, but that's going to cost him some positions. So Eric Alvarez has made his way past Pedro. You got Kyle Tillman and Casey Bennett behind Pedro, followed by Kyle Macedo. Eric Alvarez has really shown some speed as this season has progressed. Some really good qualifying showings and some good race finishes. He's just got to put it all together for one race, put the qualifying and the race together. If he can, he's going to win his first race. He's gotten pretty close a couple of times. You see Pedro looking around the outside, but that's not going to work, and that's going to set him up for Tillman to be aggressive. You see Tillman really closing in on Pedro right there. Pedro put himself in bad position entering those corners. Tillman trying to look to the inside, but unable to get alongside. And they both end up running wide right there, which is going to allow Casey Bennett to get alongside with Tillman. Trying to keep it side by side, but Tillman wins out and gets back in position. Let's take a look a little further back. Back here we've got Scott Taylor leading kind of the second group of the race. Second group comprised of Nick Dryden, Evan Miller, Mike Doherty, Aiden Hasbrock, Joe Marsiglia, Brett Spigner, Stefan Buckley, and Maxwell Cerna. So you see Doherty back here with these guys. Hasbrock also, not sure what happened to Hasbrock. He was up in the front at the beginning of the race as well. So was Doherty. And now Doherty is currently in 14th place after that lap 1 incident. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him to make his way through the pack. Okay, let's take a look back at the front. Here's Wojcik. It's showing he has a 1.4 second lead over Bowen. You can see it there. He started to pull away from Bowen some. You see Jesse Albert in the background back there, but he is now 3.7 seconds behind, so he's losing time to these guys. We're only just now almost 5 laps into the race, so a lot is still going to happen, but Wojcik's trying to put this thing to bed early. He's trying to pull away with it, see what he can do. Check back a little bit here. We got Ken North. Ken is in 4th currently. And we know how consistent Ken is once he gets into his race pace. He's really hard to beat. He's able to just always end up in the front. I don't know how Ken really does it. He never seems like the fastest guy on the track, but he always ends up in the front, somewhere in the top 5 usually, or top 10 depending on the race. But you see him in the top 5 right now, and taking advantage of some mistakes by other people and just moving his way on up. He's always way up in the points in our championship too, because he's always finishing strong. So this is his first season in that Lamborghini, and he's really made the best out of it. You know, a lot of people swear that car is cursed. A lot of people hate the Lambo, but Ken's really made it work and made it look really good while doing it. He just a very smooth driver. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take an onboard lap, kind of give you a tour of what Imola feels like from the driver's perspective. About to start a new lap here, so we'll go ahead and jump on board with Wojciech. Whoa, you see Wojciech getting loose coming through there. There's the pit entrance on the right there, so he's coming through, coming down the front stretch here. Imola is a very fast track, but it's very, very complicated, some of these turns, as you're about to see. So you see him coming through this fast left-hand kind of dog leg here, all the way down into second gear through these two quick turns here. High speed left-hander. You're coming along at a really good rate of speed. You got to go down. Most guys go into third right there. Wojciech does it in fourth, then down to second through the second turn. And then you got a really hard left-hander right here, all the way down to first gear. Accelerate out of that turn. Another pretty high-speed left-hander right there. And this is where it gets a little tricky right here. You got this right-hander, and then you got a really tight right-hander, followed by a slight left-hand turn. Wojciech did a pretty good job through there, but you can really lose a lot of time on that corner the way it doubles back the way it does. And here's the... Oh, Wojciech gets a little loose through the chicane there. That's where a lot of guys are cutting so much of the track, that chicane. He was able to hold on to it. Then you got another really hard left-hander right here, all the way down into first gear, followed by another hard left-hander, and then you're back to the beginning of the track. So that is one lap on board. We may do some more onboard riding with some guys, but that's a look at what's going on. We got a good position battle going on back here between Evan Miller and Mike Doherty. You see Doherty looking to the inside there. He was all over the back of Evan Miller. It's going to put him on the inside for the next turn as well, and Evan's just going to let him go. There's not much he could do there once Doherty got position. Now Doherty obviously has more pace. He was the pole sitter for this race, so, you know, probably not a good idea for Evan to hold him up too much anyway, because he's not going to gain anything by slowing Doherty down. Same thing with Hasbrock that's behind him now. Hasbrock has a lot of pace, and so once you see how much pace a guy has and the fact that he's just going to run away from you, you just let him go. As you see Evan do right there, just let him go and get back into your race. Sometimes these guys from the front end up in the back of the pack and they're really, really fast, and there's not really anything you can do with them except just let them go. So good moves there by Evan Miller, who is currently in 12th place, trying to hunt down a top 10 finish for Evan. If you can get in the top 10 in this league, you are really accomplishing something, because the top 10 is so fast. It's really hard to get in. We've pointed it out throughout the season, but some of our fastest guys have been finishing in the top, just barely in the top 10, guys from past seasons who dominated, you know. So we're seeing a lot of pace this season. Behind these guys, you see, where are we? You see Kyle Macedo back here, followed by Joe Marsiglia. They're not too close together though. Kyle has a decent gap between him and Joe right now. Alright, let's check back towards the front. So we got a 1.7. Well, it was showing a 1.7 second lead to Bowen, but Bowen had an accident or something because he's no longer in second place. He's fallen all the way back to 5th place, and now he's kind of on the outside. He's behind D. Hicks and in front of Eric Alvarez, so something happened to Bowen that lost him some pretty significant amount of time. That's Ken North up ahead of these guys. That puts Ken up into 3rd place. It just shows what consistency can do for you when you're trying to combat a track that's like this, that's so hard. Just being consistent, you can beat a lot of people based off of that alone. So let's take a look at Jesse. Jesse's currently in 2nd, but he's 5.9 seconds off of Wojcik. So Wojcik has a pretty comfortable lead for the current time. Jesse's kind of done the same thing Ken North has done. These two guys have just survived the storm so far and are in really good position just based on being consistent. You put yourself in a good position, you never know what can happen in racing. I mean, it's always a wild card. You can see that Jesse has a 5.3 second lead over Ken North, so there's a pretty big gap back to 3rd. So Jesse is kind of in no man's land right now and able to just run his race. See how it goes for these guys. Meanwhile, we got D. Hicks and Eric Alvarez doing battle back here. Mike Bowen finally did get past D. Hicks. Now Eric Alvarez goes right by Mike Bowen. Not sure what happened there, but Alvarez overshoots the turn. Not sure if he missed his braking point or what happened, but he went right flying past Bowen and ended up off the track. So Bowen now is up into 4th place. He's starting to recover from that, whatever happened to him earlier. And you see Kyle Tillman right there behind Pedro in that violet-colored BMW. That is the guy who was currently in. He was actually technically leading the race when that lap 1 incident happened. He's moved his way all the way back to 7th now. He's moving up through the field, so keep an eye on Kyle Tillman. He showed a ton of speed here. He qualified 2nd. So we'll see what he's able to do if he can finish this race strong. So Wojcik's got the lead up to 6.3 seconds over Jesse. So Wojcik is pulling away, and he is in no man's land. There's nobody behind him, anywhere near him. Doesn't look like there's anybody in front of him. He will eventually catch some of the slower guys on the track, but as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be really, really difficult to beat because he's got a big advantage, and he's growing that advantage every lap. So you see how big the lead is there. That's Albert in the background. Every now and then on a camera angle that's just right, you can see Jesse back there, but he's now over 7 seconds behind. So Jesse is quickly losing pace to Wojcik. Wojcik pulling away. Just kind of running away with this race at the moment. You see Jesse coming over the hill back there, so pretty large gap from 1st to 2nd currently, and then the same thing from 2nd to 3rd. That's the gap. There's Jesse, and then here comes Ken behind him. 5.7 second difference between these guys. So Jesse is actually growing the gap between himself and Ken North and Wojcik is growing the gap between himself and Jesse Albert. So the two front guys are pulling away. And here comes Mike Bowen. You see Bowen catching up to Ken North. He is currently, it shows 2.7 seconds, but I think he's actually closer than that. He's catching Ken at a pretty good clip, looks like. We know Bowen has a ton of speed at this track. He was really, really fast early in the race and was trying to hunt down Wojcik before whatever happened to him. So we'll see what he's able to do to finish out this race. Alright, let's take a look back through the pack. So we got Kyle Tillman, who is ahead of this group of cars right here. We got D. Hicks right in front of Eric Alvarez, Pedro Perez behind him, and Casey Bennett behind Pedro. You see Eric looking to the inside but unable to get alongside. You see D. Hicks get a little bit loose there. Oh, and there's Mike Bowen off the track right there. So Bowen, who was making ground on Ken North, falls all the way back to 9th place. So I'm not sure. Bowen's just not having his normal race. He's usually really, really consistent, but he's had a couple of mistakes here so far tonight. That's going to hurt him quite a bit. It's moved him back just within the top 10 still. He still has a large gap over Hasbrock, who is in 10th place. Hasbrock is being shown as almost 10 seconds behind Casey Bennett, but it's actually Bowen that he's behind. It's going to update here in just a second. And then you see Mike Doherty back there. Mike diving into the pits. So Doherty pitting early. See how that pays off for Mike. He's up to 11th place when he pitted. See what he's able to do to try to gain some of those positions back from that incident earlier. Meanwhile, Wojcik is... Well, it disappeared right when I clicked on him. He's 8.1 seconds ahead of Jesse Albert, so he's continuing to grow the lead. Jesse, 6.9 seconds in front of Ken North, so he's continuing to grow that lead. So the front guys are separated by quite a bit. Kay Tillman is he's 4.9 seconds behind Ken North. See if he's able to catch Ken. He's been on a tear ever since that incident in lap 1. So we'll see if he's able to catch up to Ken. Taking a look at D. Hicks here. In front of this group of cars. You see Mike Doherty coming out of the pits right now. So that's going to move him all the way back to 15th place. See how this early pit strategy works out for Doherty. He's going to be on the track for quite a while on that second set of tires. So we'll see what he's able to do with that. Taking a look at our top 10, we've got Hasbrock in 10th, Casey Bennett, who we're looking at, in 9th. Mike Bowen is currently in 8th, so he's already gained one position since that incident he had a moment ago. Pedro Perez in 7th, Eric Alvarez in 6th, D. Hicks in 5th, Kyle Tillman in 4th, Ken North in 3rd, Jesse Albert in 2nd, and Mike Wojcik still in 1st. So that's our top 10. Behind the top 10, things are a little more spread out. We got Evan Miller. He's about 14.7 seconds behind Hasbrock, so he's not challenging for 10th. But he's got a 6.3 second lead over Kyle Macedo. So Kyle behind him, and then Stefan Buckley behind that. Behind Stefan is Brett Spigner. And behind Spigner is Mike Doherty, but we know that's partially because Mike pitted, so that's going to change. But then we got Joe Marsiglia and Nick Driveman, who Nick looks like he's, well, you see Buckley up there, but I think he's a lap behind Buckley, so I don't think that that's actually for a position right there. We're going to take a look at these guys right here. This is the closest position battle on the track right now, is Mike Bowen, who is finding his way around people. If he can find the consistency that he normally has, then he's going to pass some people. He's going to make up some of those positions. Take a look on board with Bennett. You see, I think that was Pedro Perez heading into the pits, so that's going to move these guys up in the running order. We're riding along with Casey Bennett right now, who's keeping pace with Mike Bowen, and he's got Mike Doherty behind him. But Doherty, we know that's not for position, because Doherty is a lap down. So he's just trying to keep pace with these guys to make the best time as he can till everybody else pits. Bowen's pulling away from him a little bit here. Casey's still almost within reach. If he can just get a couple of turns where he has an advantage, he'll be right back on Bowen. Bowen does have a ton of speed here, though, so not sure if Casey's on that same pace or not. Casey's been really fast all day, though. He's maintained a top 10. Whoa, we got somebody lagging all over the place there. Not sure what that was all about. That was D. Hicks. D. Hicks is either disconnected or something happened, because he was lagging through other people's cars there for a moment. Luckily, no incident happened from that. You see Bowen has pulled away from Bennett, probably partially because Bennett was freaking out because a car lagged right through his car. But regardless, he's got Mike Doherty. Let's jump on board with Doherty. Doherty's right behind these guys. And he has no real reason to pass these guys because he's not racing them for position right now. But they have good pace, so if you're Mike Doherty, you just keep pace with these guys and try to wait until they pit. Once they pit, you'll be past them. So that's kind of the play for Mike Doherty right here. Let's go ahead and take a look back towards the front. We got Wojcik here. He's going to pit, coming into the pits. Oh my gosh. Not sure who that was, but somebody was stopping in the entrance to the pit right there. And Wojcik plowed into him. That's going to put a ton of damage on Wojcik's car. Trying to see if we can get a look at it. At the damage, I mean, but the camera angle is not working out for that. But so Wojcik's going to pit, but that's going to cost him some time. Not sure how much damage he has on that car. That is going to cause some issues for Mike Wojcik. He was quite a ways ahead of Jesse Albert. Now Jesse is going to claim the lead of the race with Wojcik pitting, but could he possibly claim the whole lead of the race if Wojcik has to repair damage? We're going to keep an eye on Wojcik and see how long he's got to stay in the pits. Jesse's got a 10.8 second lead over Ken North, who's being shown in second. And Ken North has got his hands full because he's got Kyle Tillman all over him right now. Let's check back on Wojcik. He's still in the pits. We got, looks like Eric Alvarez in front of him. Not sure who that is in front of Alvarez. That might be Brett Spigner, maybe? I'm not sure. Okay, so Wojcik's making his way out of the pits. Where is Jesse on the track? That's Jesse passing the pit entrance right now. Wojcik's still coming out the pit exit. Here comes Jesse right here. Jesse's got a head of steam coming down towards this dogleg left here. He's going to go right by Wojcik. And not sure what happened there. I think Wojcik might have disconnected. Maybe his game crashed or something. He's gone. So Wojcik is gone. That's going to leave Jesse in the lead. And Kyle Tillman has passed Ken North to put him up into second. So after that lap 1 incident, Kyle Tillman has recovered all the way back to second place. He fell all the way back to the back of the pack on lap 1. Or at least most of the way through the pack. I'm not sure exactly where he ended up at. I wasn't paying attention to that part, but he fell back really far. He was past the middle of the pack, so to be all the way back up in second shows just how fast he really has been the rest of this race. And Jesse, who's leading the race, Jesse started in 9th place, so he's currently leading, and he's got a pretty healthy lead. His lead is 11.8 seconds right now. Now you see a couple of guys with penalties. We got Alvarez with a stop-and-go 30-second penalty, probably for pit lane infraction, maybe speeding in pit lane. And then we got Aiden Hasbrock, who has a drive-through. That might also be a pit lane penalty. If it's not pit lane, then it's track limits. Not sure which one it is, but that's going to hurt both of those guys, at least somewhat. Alvarez is 48 seconds ahead of Joe Marsiglia, but with the stop and go and the whole pit situation, not sure how long it will take him to get back out. Marsiglia may end up past him, so we'll keep an eye on that. So we're 19 laps in the books. We're on our 20th lap right now out of 34. You know, Jesse hasn't done anything too flamboyant in this race. He hasn't been as fast as we've seen him be at other tracks. Some of the other tracks, Jesse really shows a ton of speed, and he is fast. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's leading the race. You got to be fast to lead the race. But we've seen Jesse really have that like elite type speed at times. I don't know if he technically had it at this track, if he was quite to that level, but he has survived the storm. So many guys in front of him made mistakes, and he's just stayed steady. He's made passes. He's just kind of hung in there, and now he's leading the race with a comfortable lead. So, gotta feel good if you're him. We'll take a look on board for a minute here and just see what kind of pace he's really having around this track. He looks pretty good through there. Coming up on some guys now. That looks like Mike Bowen is up ahead of him. That's Mike Bowen and Ken North up ahead of him. Yeah, maybe I'm not giving Jesse enough credit. He does look really fast. You know, the one thing about the BMW is the way it sounds. It sounds so muted and calm. It doesn't sound as fast as it actually is. You know, before, Jesse used to drive the Lexus, and that thing sounded like a banshee. It was screaming the whole time. It really sounded like it was going really, really fast. So the Porsche is that way. The Porsche is extremely loud, and it makes it sound like the car is going 1,000 miles per hour. You can say the same thing for the Lamborghini and the McLaren. The McLaren always sounds like it's going 1,000 miles per hour because it's just screaming like a banshee. The BMW is a little more muted, a little more calm, so it doesn't feel like it's going as fast, but then when you look at the lap times, it really is. So Jesse is in the pits. That's going to give Kyle Tillman the lead of the race, but Kyle still has to pit, though. So we know things are kind of messed up with pit stops and everything. It's got to shuffle out to see where everybody's at. But Jesse should still be comfortably in the lead of the race after Tillman pits. Meanwhile, this position battle is for position. It's for points. We got Ken North, who's been hanging in there all race long. And he's doing battle with Mike Bowen. And Bowen has really had the speed here to win this race. He's been really, really fast. Just had a couple of mistakes that have cost him. We'll see what Ken can do with him. Take a look on board with Ken here. You hear what I mean about the Lamborghini. It sounds like it's going really, really fast, pretty much at all times. See Ken get a little bit wide there. Oh, he let Bowen go. Bowen got the inside on him, and he just kind of let him go. We've seen Ken do this the whole time that he's been with us. If a guy is really hounding him, he will just let him go. But then a lot of the time he ends up beating the guy eventually anyway because he's more consistent. So we'll see what happens in this situation. But we've seen Ken not be overly aggressive and kind of let people move along. If they're fast enough to catch him and move past him, he just kind of lets them go and then figures it out later in the race. Let's see how it shakes out here. So we've got Kyle Tillman in the pits. And we got Jesse Albert. That's Eric Alvarez who's behind him, but that is not for position. Eric is currently in 11th place right now. So Albert out in the lead. There's Kyle Tillman behind him. It's showing Kyle Macedo behind him, but Kyle's in the pits. He was the last one to pit. So we got Pedro Perez. Now Pedro pitted early, I believe. So Pedro has moved his way up into 3rd place, looks like. Really good move by Pedro to pit early and make up some time, because he was not in the top 3 earlier in this race. So he's his strategy's proven pretty solid right now. That is D. Hicks in front of him, but Hicks had something happened to where he's all the way back into 13th now, so this is not for position. So behind Pedro is Casey Bennett and Mike Bowen. Casey is 7.2 seconds behind Pedro. Oh, and just as I'm saying that, Pedro gets a drive-through penalty. That is no doubt for track limits, and that is going to cost him a lot. He's currently in 3rd place, had put himself in really good position, but that penalty is going to cost him at least a few positions. You hate to see that for guys, but you know, the track limits and the pit penalties, that's part of racing too. We got to keep that stuff as clean as we can, because the server or the game ACC is pretty unforgiving when it comes to penalties. If you cross the line or go just a little off the track, you know, that can be a pretty severe punishment. So that's going to give 3rd to Casey Bennett, and then 4th will be to Mike Bowen. And Bowen continues the comeback tour, just trying to. He's been a lot more consistent the second half of the race so far. If he can catch Casey, he can get a top 3 finish out of what was probably a pretty frustrating race for him so far. So we'll see if he's able to do that. Behind him is Ken North. Ken is currently looking at a top 5. You see a car lagging all over the track again. That's D. Hicks. He's having some serious connection problems. So we're going to keep an eye on Pedro and see when he pits here to serve that drive-through. When he does, we'll see how many positions it ends up costing. So this has been a pretty ugly race tonight. It's kind of a battle of attrition, who can survive, you know. And here comes Pedro into the pits. We're going to see just how much that drive-through is going to hurt. Here comes Casey around the corner, followed by Mike Bowen. So Pedro's going to lose those 2 positions for sure. And then after that is Ken North. Ken's going to pass him as well. Behind that is Mike Doherty, but Doherty's quite a ways back. So I don't think he's going to get Pedro, although it's pretty close. He's coming around right now. Pedro's coming out. This is going to be closer than I thought. Here comes Pedro coming out. Mike Doherty's going to get it. So Doherty up into 6th place after a horrible sequence in lap 1. He's recovered nicely to be in the top 6. So I'm pretty sure that was a track limits penalty for Perez, but that's a killer to lose that many positions in the second half of the race. That's pretty brutal. So we're going to take a look at our leader for a minute here, Jesse Albert. He's catching up to some lap traffic. He's actually kind of surrounded by some lap traffic right now, but just got to finish strong pretty much is all he's got to do. He's got 11.4 second lead over Kyle Tillman. Tillman's got a 12.3 second lead over Casey Bennett. And Bennett has a 2.6 second lead over Mike Bowen. Now that's something to keep an eye on right there. Further back in the pack, we've got Evan Miller, followed by Kyle Macedo. Now, Evan's had a pretty eventful race. He's currently in 8th place. Top 10 finish would be huge for Evan here if he can hold on to it. We know Kyle at times can be really, really fast. In past seasons, he's had some really high finishes in our group where he finished up front, but he doesn't have the time to race as often now as he did back then, so he doesn't quite seem to have the speed that he used to have. You know, racing's like anything else. If you don't spend enough time doing it, you kind of lose your edge a little bit. We'll see if Evan can hold off Kyle Macedo here. Let's take a look on board with Kyle. Now this car might be the ultimate when it comes to sounding fast. The McLaren, it just sounds like a banshee. The thing is so loud, it accelerates. It sounds like it's accelerating twice as fast as every other car. It sounds great, honestly. All the sounds in ACC are fantastic. I would love to drive this car. I personally drive the Porsche, but I would love to drive this car just because how fast it sounds. It makes you feel like you're really flying. But unfortunately, when I've driven the McLaren, I didn't really like how it drove. Didn't like the feel of the car too much. So you see the next person behind Kyle Macedo is 38 seconds behind. So Kyle's comfortable in 9th place for now. Just trying to get 8th place from Evan. He seems like he's able to beat Evan through some of the braking zones. But Evan's doing a good job of making his car nice and wide by staying right in the optimal part of the track at all times. It's making it where Kyle really doesn't have anywhere to peek. He can't look inside. He can't really look outside. Evan's kind of just in a neutral middle position on the track, optimal line, making it really difficult for Kyle to find anywhere to go. And I know this position battle is for eighth place, but you know, these two guys are having more fun right now than anybody on the track, because everybody else on the track is spread out. Things are kind of boring. They're just running laps. Like, you look at Jesse, you know, he's 10.2 seconds ahead of second place, so he's just cruising up there. Tillman is trying to run Jesse down, but he's 13 seconds ahead of Casey Bennett, so he doesn't have to worry about Casey, so he's just tuned. And then Casey's 10.8 seconds ahead of Ken North, so he's in chill mode as well. I mean, these guys are all digging. They're trying to do as fast a laps as they can to catch the guy in front, but they don't have anybody around them except maybe lap traffic, so there's just no actual action going on. At least these two guys are having some fun racing in a battle that actually counts for points, counts for position. When we think about sim racing, when we think about racing in general, that's the reason we do it, is for these moments like this when you're battling it out with the guy and you're trying to beat him through a set of turns, and you're trying to outbrake him in a set of turns, and you're just looking for any little advantage you can possibly find to be able to get that guy. Or if you're the guy in front, any little advantage you can find to stay ahead of the guy behind. You know, you're just working so hard to hold on to what you've already got. You see Kyle really getting up on him now. A good job by Evan right there. Really made good time through the chicane. Pulled away from Kyle, who Kyle looked like he was braking pretty late. Evan's still able to pull away. Got a good exit coming out of the chicane and pulled a gap on him. It seems like Kyle has, on the long braking zones, a little bit of an advantage. But Evan's doing a great job of making up for that advantage coming out of the turns. His corner exit's really, really good. So it's not given, like right here, he got a good exit, so Kyle's unable to catch him on this long stretch with the slipstream. Whoa, Kyle gets into the back of Evan right there. Somehow Evan holds on to it. Not sure how in the world that didn't end up in a spin right there. Looked like Evan might have been a little early on the brakes, but not sure. Either he was early or Kyle was late. Not really sure what happened there. But luckily both guys walked away from it and they can continue to battle. And we're staying here because there's nothing else going on around the track right now. These guys are the only ones that are battling for position. Everybody else is pretty much flying solo at the moment. We'll keep an eye on some different guys' times. I'm checking the board, the running order as much as I can, but I really don't see any other battles going on anywhere. So we've seen some really strong comebacks tonight. You know, this has been a pretty ugly race. Well, at least it started ugly, and unfortunate for the guys who were caught up in that first lap accident. But you see the recovery some of them have made. Kyle Tillman is all the way up into second. Mike Doherty's made his way all the way up to fifth. Really good recoveries by those guys. And even Mike Bowen, you know, Bowen had a couple of mistakes that cost him a ton of positions. He's recovered all the way back to seventh and still holding strong. You know, Evan has done a really good job at keeping his pace consistent throughout this entire exchange. This has been going on for, I don't even know how many laps these two guys have been going at it, but you see Kyle trying to look around to the inside there, but there's just nothing there. We got about 4 laps to go. So if Kyle's going to be able to make something happen here, he's got to do it soon. But he's really going to have his hands full. It's going to take a mistake by Evan to get it, I think, because if Evan's on his game, I don't think he's going to be able to get him. Just based off how good of a job he's held him off this whole time. You see Kyle looking towards the inside there, going down along the inside. Whoa, almost overshoots the corner. Evan right on him. Kyle off the track a little bit there, but stays in front. So Kyle finally gets past him, coming down that long stretch into that left-hander. Now we'll see if Kyle can pull away. He's been hounding him for I don't know how many laps, all over Evan. Evan did a great job of battling back and really fighting him off. But eventually Kyle was able to make it stick. Oh, and then Kyle overshoots the turn, ends up way out in the infield, and he's going to give it right back. With 3 laps to go, Evan retakes the position. So we'll keep an eye on this, but we need to check on our leaders before the end of this race. So we've only got 3 laps to go. So we got Jesse Albert up here now. Kyle Tillman has been hunting Jesse down. He's got it down to 7 seconds. It was like 13 seconds, I think, a little while ago. So Kyle really making up some time on Jesse. I don't think this is Jesse's fastest track, but he's been remarkably consistent, and that's got him the lead, and it looks like it's going to get him the win. You see Kyle back there, but I think that's just too much to overcome unless Jesse makes a mistake. He's only got 3 laps, actually 2 laps now because he's crossing the line, so 2 laps to go to bring home a win. This will be Jesse's first win with us if he can get it. He's been with us for quite a while and had some really strong finishes. He's had some races where he was fast enough to win, but never able to actually come home with the trophy. And so we're going to see 2 laps to go if he can put it all together and finish this one strong. You see behind Kyle Tillman is Casey Bennett, but he is, well, of course the time disappears right when I try to show it. He's quite a ways behind him, so let's check back on these 2 guys. We got Evan and Kyle. Evan's got a little bit of a gap now, so 2 laps to go. Unless Evan makes a mistake, he's going to be able to hold on to this 8th place finish. Top 10 finish for Evan Miller. He's got to be happy about that. To finish in the top 10 in this league, you got to be really fast, or in a race like this, you have to also be really consistent, because some of the fastest guys didn't finish the race. So all right, so Jesse Albert just trying to bring it home. Here he comes around. He's got 1 lap to go after this. You can see the lead there, 5.8 seconds. He's going to hold on to this as long as he doesn't make a mistake. Starting the last lap. Okay, so wrapping this one up, a battle of attrition for some of these guys. Endurance racing is what we do, and this one definitely feels like an endurance race. It feels like the guys who are even going to finish have kind of endured to the end. You see Kyle Tillman's got it down to 5 seconds flat, but it's just going to be too little too late, as Jesse is going to bring this thing home. Just a couple turns left here. I shouldn't say he's going to, because God forbid something happens, but just a couple turns left, and here it is coming down to the front stretch. Jesse Albert's going to win his first race with us at CSRL. There's the checkered flag, so that's a win for Jesse Albert. He's got to be excited about that. Here comes Kyle Tillman with a strong second place finish after what was a horrible start to the race. Casey Bennett going to finish in third. Great finish by him. That's high up in the points. Great job by Casey. And then the ever reliable Ken North is going to finish in fourth. You see where Mike Doherty had gotten it down to 1.9 seconds to Ken North. He's actually closer than that right now. The time hasn't updated. So another couple laps, Doherty might have gotten Ken North. But Ken is going to hold on and take the checkered flag. He's going to finish in fourth with Doherty in fifth. Great recovery by Doherty to get the top 5 finish after a horrible start to the race. And there's Pedro Perez coming around for 6th place. Mike Bowen's going to get 7th. And Evan Miller is going to finish off. Oh, that's the end of the replay there. But Evan Miller is going to finish 8th, and then Kyle Macedo 9th, and Eric Alvarez in 10th. So great job by all these guys. Let's go ahead and go back now. We normally rewatch the first lap, the beginning of the first lap, because it's so good, because the start is so great. Unfortunately, this one, that's not the case. But we are going to take a look on board from Pedro Perez. He's starting in 8th place. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry, Pedro. Let's do Jesse Albert, because he ended up winning the race. And he started in 9th place. So this was the view from 9th, starting the race. Take a look at what happened and what it looked like from his position. That's Aiden Hasbrock in front of us right now. There's the green flag. So these guys are off and racing. See, Jesse gets a little bit of a slow start. He's got somebody coming up on his right side right now. I think that's Ken North. Nice and steady side-by-side racing coming through here. Whoa, almost gets into Pedro. Able to get alongside Pedro, maybe get past Pedro. Nope, Pedro's still there. And then you see the incident up ahead, scrambling to make sure they don't end up tied up in it. John Snow comes back in and hits Hasbrock. Somehow these guys avoid that incident. And there it is. That's from 9th to 4th for Jesse Albert right there. Just survival mode, pretty much. There's no other way to put it. And then the 3 guys in front of him had enough things happen to where Jesse ended up winning the race. And we know he didn't have the pace to catch some of these guys, but it just goes to show the speed is not everything. Consistency and clean driving, that's what wins races, and that's exactly what won this race tonight. That's got to be a fun feeling for Jesse, because there's other tracks where he's extremely fast. So to be at a track where he's not as fast and still come out with a win has to feel good. So congrats to him, congrats to all the guys who finished well, everybody who raced, of course, but especially those guys who finished in the top 10. Congrats to them. That's hard to do. And we appreciate you guys watching. Next week we'll be at Laguna Seca, and we're going to be racing at night. So Laguna Seca in the dark is quite a handful. It's a hard track in the daytime, so at night it's going to be that much harder. So these guys are really going to have their work cut out for them to prepare throughout the week to get ready for that. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully we can clean up a little bit of the incidents and get things straightened out, and we'll have a nice race next week. So thanks a lot for joining us, guys, and we will see you next week.